right, well, hey, good morning. My name is Mark. I want to welcome you here as well. We're in this series where we've been talking about these transformational stories of these people who were rescued by Jesus, and we looked at the first 3 weeks. You know what it was like when he rescued them, when he saved them, and now we're making another run through those same 3 stories and talking a little bit deeper about what it looks like for them to really follow him. I'm really excited today. We're going to make that second round with Mary Magdalene, which is it's just one of those stories that I'll be honest. I mean, I knew the name, but it's not one of the ones that's like on loop in the felt board in Sunday school growing up, or like it's that you just. I mean, I would kind of know something, but not much, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, she's mentioned that I saw 12 different times. She's talked about in all 4 of the Gospels. She's mentioned more than most of the apostles, more than any other woman in the Gospels other than Jesus' family. I mean, she's a prominent figure, not just a side story. And so I think there's really some incredible things that we can draw from that today. I'm excited to talk about it. But before I do, real quick, I just want to, if you haven't heard us talking about this party that we're throwing after church next Sunday, I want to make sure you know about it and that you get it on your calendar and plan on staying after for lunch next week. Just a personal invite. Man, you need to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have those big inflatables out there on the parking lot for the kiddos and some other things for them. We're going to tear this room down right after the service and turn it into a time where we're going to have some free hot dogs. We're going to have $2 tacos, which are just some really, really good tacos. But I wanted to make sure we are going to charge a little bit for that, so maybe have some cash in your pocket to do that. We can do it through Venmo too, but we'll charge a little bit for those tacos. But they're going to be incredible. We've had them before. If you've had them, anybody agree? They're so good. So that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The thing I would say that makes it really important and critical, and the reason why I want to just take a second to give a personal invite is because, we've got times in church where we get to like meet one another. I mean, that's right. It's not the steeple in the church; it's the people, right? I mean, we know that that's true. But it's just real easy for Sunday morning to be an event that you come to and then you leave and don't really have any significant conversations. And so, there's a few times a year that we have something like this. We got a trunk or treat coming up, which has turned into a really fun event. Christmas Eve is like that. I mean, there's some things that we do that are like that. I've noticed, in fact, some other people have also told me this, that here, even these last few weeks, that it seems like we are doing a really cool thing, like lingering a little bit after the service and talking to one another. Which is just really, really cool because, I mean, doing life together, that's what this is about. And so it's really fun to watch that. And so if you're new, I would say, man, make sure you plan on that lunch being here and being ready to meet some folks and kind of figure out just, one-to-one, like what is this place about? If you are and have been around for a while, please consider it, man, that's the place you come so that you can be a part of the community and helping other people find that. And so, man, I'd love it if we were just all there. We're going to do it right after the service next week. So as soon as we're done, we're going to push the chairs to the side, roll tables in, and throw down on some tacos. So anyway, personal invite, man, I hope you can make it because I think it's really critical. And I think as we make this look at the life of Mary, I don't know, there's just some things related to that. Like it's the commitment. Being a part of a community is a really big deal. And I'm going to start out today. I'm going to tell this story. I know you're going to think I'm lying and it's not true. I promise you, Terry can vouch for me. This is a true story, as miraculous as it may sound. I went, and this has been a couple years ago. I had lunch with this dude. It was really some really good Asian food. We're having a really deep conversation. He's kind of sharing his heart, and we're really talking about some deep things. And I reach over to grab the sriracha, and I go to shake it because you're supposed, you got to shake the hot sauce before you use it. And so I go to shake it, but I didn't cover it with my finger or tighten the lid before I did that. And so I shake it, and a drop of that sriracha, just a small drop, lands right on my eyeball. Now, I don't know if you've ever had sriracha in your eyeball, but I would imagine you could answer this question. What does one do who get sriracha in their eyeball. Yeah, I could have chosen to sit there and to try to act like nothing was wrong. It was pretty obvious real quick that the guy's like, man, dude, you were like crying your eyes out. What did I say? How did I offend you? What's going on? It hurt immediately. I ran to a bathroom that, let's just say, it wasn't a 5-star. It wasn't all that clean. But I wasn't worried about it, because what was I headed towards? I was headed towards that sink to get that water, and to get that water in my eyeball as quickly as I could possibly get it there. I was just in there, just throwing water, slinging it all across the room. And when I came out, my shirt was wet. My hair wet doesn't, but my shirt was wet and all the things. And I sat down. He's like, dude, what happened? I was like, man, sriracha in the eyeball. All right? So this is the miraculous part. So then that weekend, we're with some friends, we're eating some tacos, and there's a Cholula bottle there. And it reminds me of the story. So I'm telling the story about sriracha. And as I go to get the Cholula, the little wooden ball cap falls off the Cholula bottle. It hits the counter, and then it falls down and hits the ground. And y'all, I kid you not, a drop of Cholula from the thing on the ground bounces up and goes in my eyeball. How the distance, like the odds, how is this even possible? And what did I do? I beeline for the bathroom, and I had another bath in somebody's side bathroom, because that's what you do. You get hot sauce in your eye, you put water there. Now, when we start to look at this story of Mary Magdalene, in one way, it is absolutely amazing. Her commitment level is astounding. But let's be honest, what do you do? This is a woman who was set free by Jesus from 7 demons. When Jesus does that in your life, what do you do? There's not a lot of options. You commit yourself to him. You commit your time, you commit your focus. He's the priority. Like what he's doing and helping him get that good news and bring that salvation to others, like that's what you become about. That's the knee-jerk reaction. There's not another thing you do. No, you do that. And so we look at her life, and it's pretty astounding. Well, I'll go back to the place that we talked about her a few weeks ago when Charlie was sharing about how she was rescued. Luke chapter 8, beginning of verse 1. Soon afterwards, he went on through the cities and villages, proclaiming and bringing the good news of the kingdom of God. And the 12 were with him, and also some women who had been healed of evil spirits and infirmities. Mary called Magdalene, from whom the 7 demons had gone out. So this is her original story. Jesus, and we find out later specifically, it says Jesus set her free from these 7 demons. And then it names off these other names, and then it says, and many others who provided for them out of their means. So one thing we know immediately about Mary Magdalene is that she was redeemed, she was rescued, set free, and now she was providing for Jesus in this movement. She was providing for it from what she had. Now, there's some speculation about how much she had. Maybe she was wealthy. Where did her wealth come from? Because we know her backstory, it's really interesting that she had means. But really, for the discussion today, it doesn't really matter that much, because all we need to know is what she had, she devoted to Jesus in this movement. She supported out of what she had. Whether that was a lot or whether that was a little, she was committed to take from what she had and to support it. It was a priority to her to support this. And specifically, this first thing we're looking at is, it's financial. And we know that Jesus talked about this, right? Where our checkbook is, where our bank account, like that reveals a lot about where our priorities in our heart are. And so we see from the beginning her commitment level. From what she has, she is supporting. And, that's a big deal. Would anybody agree that raising kids is an expensive thing to do? I don't know that there's anything that I've spent more money on than in having children. And it's a lot when they're little. I remember the day that I bought diapers for the last time for Brennan, who's 18 now. And that, when I paid out that last time and was carrying those diapers, it was just such a feel of relief. We're not going to buy these. What might I spend all of my money on now that I will have money? And if you know us, we had the two older boys, but now we've got twins that are 10-year-olds. So we only double down. It's so expensive. And when we found out that we were having twins, the benefit, I guess, but also the tough thing about having the older boys is that I knew how much it cost. And so when the doctor said, you're having twins, there's two of them, I knew what that meant. I knew what it meant for our finances. I'm like, oh, man. And, Terry's trying to console me with it's going to be okay for this and this and this. And I'm like, but what about the money? And I'm not thinking about the diapers even. I'm way past that because now I'm already knowing what cars cost and what insurance cost and what all the things cost. And it's a boy-girl twin, so yeah, we can't share clothes. We can't share toys. I just ding, 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 ding. In fact, on their birthday, I guess this is just the way it is now because things were really different when the twins were born than when the older boys were born. I mean, there was a nurse in there with a checker thing, that like you check out at Walmart. And she was going around, ding, 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 ding. So from the very start, I was hearing how much this thing cost. I couldn't even focus and be in the moment, this beautiful moment of new life. Because all I heard was ding, ding, this is going to cost you, Mark, Y'all, every parent I've ever known, the thought of, are you going to provide for your kids? Are you going to feed them? Are you? Or do you debate about it? Well, I don't know. Maybe they don't get to eat today, Are you gonna put a roof over their head? I mean, are you? Is it a thing that you sit there and you debate over and weigh it out? Am I going? No, we do it. In fact, you go to jail if you don't. I mean, it's a bit. We do that. You have a child. You're responsible. You're obligated, but you also want to provide. You want to take care of. You want to support. It's obvious and automatic. And then we move over, you look at the life of Mary Magdalene, and it's like she was redeemed from much. She was saved from much. She realized how incredible this good news was. She realized how incredible this Jesus was. And if he could do that for her, he could do that for others. There was an evaluation, maybe an accounting. But she immediately is like, well, I'm going to support it from what I have because it's worthy of that support. I'm a little bit jealous of her, to be honest, because when I think about where I struggle with giving and when it comes to the money side of things and supporting God's work on the planet, man, it would have been pretty cool, right? I mean, he's right there, and they need to be fed, and they need a place to stay, and they need travel expenses. I mean, it was right. So she's like, okay, I will support that. I mean, the vision of it, the act, like the way to do it, all those things seem like they would have been really, really clear, and we've got a gazillion opportunities coming at us every day, right? And I think a lot of times because of that, we can't say yes to everything, so we tend to not say yes to anything and maybe lack some of that vision. Like this thing is going to move the kingdom of God forward in this way. This thing is going to help this group of people specifically, and I'm passionate about supporting Jesus' work in this place, in this way. It's not but just a chapter later, so we have to assume that Mary's around when Jesus says these things in Luke chapter 9, verse 57. As they were going along the road, someone said to Jesus, I will follow you wherever you go. And how did Jesus respond? Well, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Talk is cheap. Jesus, I'll follow you. And he's like, well, just realize I'm homeless. Just realize that following me is not the easy thing. And then the next one, to another, he said, follow me. But he said, Lord, first let me go bury my father. And Jesus said to him, leave the dead to bury their own dead, but as for you, go and proclaim the kingdom of God. I mean, he's like, man, the priority here, I mean, family's important, but I mean, let's do the weighing of what's most important, what's the highest priority. You're following me, you're following me, and it's gonna cost. There's gonna be a cost involved, but it's worth it. Yet to another he said, I will follow you, Lord, but first let me say farewell to those in my home. And Jesus said to him, no one who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. You know, talk is cheap. I think a lot of folks, different seasons of my life, I mean, the idea of following Jesus is really attractive. Jesus, I want to follow you. Jesus, I want to follow you. But then when it really comes down to the true cost of commitment to following Jesus, a lot of people just tend to bail or talk a good game but never actually practice it. You know, I thought about this yesterday. You know, this Auburn quarterback, did y'all see? He talked some smack earlier in the week and said he was going to dominate us. And that was pretty easy for him to say, much more difficult for him to do. He didn't last to the second half, right? Talk is cheap. It's easy. And dare I say that we live in a time where it's very easy to talk. It's the idea of what it would look like to be committed to Jesus is easy to talk. But to be committed and to live it, y'all, that's where the wonder is, that's where the power is, that's where the life is, that's where the joy is, that's it, the purpose is. But most of the time we just like that Auburn quarterback. Good intentions, but only just about an inch from our mouth. You know, Jesus also said this in Luke chapter 9, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. Whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and yet loses himself? I mean, Jesus is real clear. By faith, this accounting, like the wise one, realizes in eternity how valuable this commitment to Jesus is and his kingdom, and how everything else is so fleeting and passing away. And yet, we still give so much of our attention, so much of our time, so much of our money, so much of our hope in the things that are fleeting. It looks like Mary did this accounting and she's like, you know what? I think he's worthy. It also seems like a day, I don't know if, I feel like I've felt this more than ever here recently, where I'm at the store or at a restaurant or somewhere and I look at something, I'm like, yeah, I want that, but it's not worth that. You're telling me you want that much for that? Like, I mean, I get that this is something good, but is it that much? I mean, y'all, the other day, we went to this taco place, and it was like a little flour tortilla. I had ordered the shrimp tacos. Y'all, there were three shrimps, 3 overcooked shrimps, stuffed in the bottom of this tortilla with a whole bunch of lettuce and stuff. That taco was $5. I'm looking at it like this is not a $5 taco, right? Now your $2 tacos next Sunday. Those are $6 tacos that you're getting for $2. But that taco, I'm doing the evaluation, it doesn't weigh out. Man, I think a lot of times our evaluation of what's worthy of our life is just off. Because we don't give enough value to what it means, what this Jesus has done for us and what he wants to do through us. So then, John, I'm going to end this cool. I'm getting to pull today from each of the Gospels, which is, if you've studied the Gospels much, you know that this is it's an interesting thing. You know, got 4 different stories, basically the same story, but 4 different tellings. And a lot of times there will be something that's in one that's not in the other, but these stories, they really do find themselves in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so in John chapter 19, it says this. It's this picture at the cross, and it talks about the soldiers and how they were dividing his clothes among themselves. And then it says, and so the soldiers did these things, But standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. By the cross. At an execution. Which, I mean, I don't want to desensitize it, make it G-rated. I mean, y'all, you know, what a gruesome scene, for one. I mean, all of the things related to the crucifixion. It's an execution. I mean, they're prisoners being killed. You're supporting one of those prisoners who's being killed, so you're identifying yourself as a follower. Remember, I mean, at his arrest, all the others are running away. The ones closest to him are denying that they even knew him. They don't want to be associated with him because they don't also want to be killed. It takes tremendous courage, tremendous commitment for this Mary. Where is she? She's right there at the cross at that moment. Again, she had done the accounting and the evaluation, and she decided there's no better place to be, even if it cost me my life, than right here at his feet at this moment. Man, what courage. What courage. You know, for some reason this has come up a lot lately, that little known fact about me, I'm like really, really afraid of hospitals and of surgeries and of even giving blood. I had this sickness when we lived overseas, and they had to take blood every day. So I've got all this scar tissue on my veins, and so if they go to take blood, it's like it takes them forever to find a vein that they can get blood out of, and so that's traumatizing. And there's other things, like I don't want to go and do anything in a hospital. And so it's come up lately because as you get older, there's things you have to go to the hospital for, and I don't want to do any of those things. And so I've been in these debates about that. Like, I don't really want to do that. But then there'll be guys like, you got to do it. And I'm like, but do you really have to? I mean, can you not? You know, surely there's an option here where you don't, because I don't really want to. And I was on the phone the other day. This guy I just met, and he'd just gotten back from the doctor, and I was confessing to him my fear. And he's like, man, I get it. And then this guy, he says, yeah, but a few years ago I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had to go to the doctor for these things. And he said something to the effect of, Mark, when it's your life, you just kind of get over it. All the things that you've just said that you're afraid of, when it's life or death, you really don't think about those things that much. You just go to the doctor. And if you have to strip down and wear a hospital gown, and you don't really worry about it anymore. All the things that you said, it doesn't matter when it's life or death. I get the idea that for Mary, again, all the places I could be, I want to be here. I would rather be here at his feet than over there somewhere else, maybe safe, running my own way, hiding out in a... Yeah, I might be safe there, but this is where I want to be because this thing is worthy of it, and it's life or death. Man, what if we had that kind of commitment? And then in Matthew chapter 27, it says this, and when it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, which it's interesting in Mark's accounting of this, it actually says that Joseph had to gather up courage to do this, to go to Pilate and ask for the body of Jesus. I mean, it was a big deal. Imagine he's going, the courage to walk into that room, to ask this very powerful person, and knowing what had just happened, to ask for his body. So here Joseph is having to gather up this courage. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen shroud, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had cut out of a rock. And then he rolled a great stone to the entrance of the tomb, and he went away. And looky there, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the tomb. Y'all, she's still there. You can't run her off. She's still there. I mean, she watched him in a gruesome way die, dead. She saw that, which for a lot of them was like, all right, well, this was fun while it lasted. We were following this guy, but now he's dead. What do we do now? But she knew what he had said, and she was expectant. And, I mean, she was like, well, okay, but this is where I want to be. Wherever he is where I want to be. And so even here, she's there. And I don't know. I mean, this is one of the reasons why, things like next week and small groups and things are so critical, because like right now, it would be incredibly encouraging if we all stopped. I know it'd be really awkward too, so I'm not going to do it, don't worry. But if we all stopped and just started to tell the stories, because I would assume that you guys have similar stories that I have. But our life, our journey is journey of faith is littered with lots of really, really dark nights where we were forced to look up and say, God, where are you? This doesn't make sense to me. It looks like you've abandoned us. To me, you should do this, and you're not doing that. Why are you not doing that? And there have been a lot of moments where I'm like, maybe you're not there because you should do that, and you didn't do it. One in particular, and I'm thankful there was a guy in my life that at that time said, yeah, we will find out, Mark, in this moment, if you really believe. Because everything that you see says you shouldn't. Do you believe? And here she is, still, after the darkest of nights, still right there. Committed. And then what happens? Well, then, because of all this woman, Mary Magdalene, gets to see a miracle. Mark chapter 16. Now, when he rose early on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, from whom he had cast out the 7 demons. She went and told those who had been with him as they mourned and wept. But when they heard that he was alive and had been seen by her, they didn't believe. But she's the one. She's the one that got to see him first. She's the one that got to see the miracle. Why? Because she was there. You couldn't make her leave. In this most incredible moment. They missed out. She's the one that got to experience it. And I think that's the thing a lot of times, y'all, when we lack commitment and we make this choice to give our life to other things, to give our time, to give our money, to give our energy, to give our focus, to give our hope to other things, we think that makes sense. And in the short term, it seems to add up. But a lot of times we're not thinking about the eternal weight of this and what the other side of that equation looks like and what we might be missing out on. Mary's the one that got to experience this. There's one friend that I'll just tell you her story real quick. This really cool girl several years ago that Terry and I got to know. And, she's maybe, when we met her, probably like 21, 22. Beautiful young girl. Her uncle was like this radio guy up in the Northeast. And he was told about this orphanage that was in this third world place. And some guys wanted him to use his radio platform to try to raise funds for it. And so he started to do that, and then he went to visit it. And after he visited it, this guy's like, man, we're all in. And so he came back, and basically his radio station, he really used that platform and was able to raise a lot of funds and build this awesome orphanage in this darkest of dark places. Well, by the time we met this girl, they really needed somebody to be there. But moving there and living in that place was going to be very, very difficult. And none of the family members were raising their hands, and none of the other people around it on the board of the nonprofit, nobody was raising their hands. But this girl, she said, I'm in. And so when I was first found out, there's already some other like people who speak English and like people who you could there, right? And she's like, nope. And so for years, she lived at this orphanage. But Terry and I've been there. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere, with opposition from local officials, threats on her life, offers of marriage from locals who wanted to give her goats and things. Really interesting stories. Nobody spoke English, so she just, by trial by fire, learned the local language, and she became so fluent that these kids. Sure enough, kind of Mother Teresa kind of story. This girl was insane. At a time in her life where maybe she, the girls her age would be pursuing career and money or a husband or, it's all the other things that they were pursuing. Their lives were moving on. It's one thing that I noticed that happened. Their lives were moving on, and here she was on the other side of the world, and their people started to just kind of forget about her over time. Tremendous courage, incredible commitment. And I look at that, and I'm like, man, did she choose wisely? In eternity, how beautiful is that? It cost her a lot. But if it's true, worth it, huh? And y'all, I really hesitate to tell stories like that because it's not, I'm not saying prescriptively, like this is what all of us are supposed to do, but isn't there something? I mean, I know my prayer for this morning, and because I believe it's true, that the Spirit of God has pointed something out in your world. Some level of commitment in some area that he wants you to ratchet up. Some exchange he wants you to make, that you're given to this, you're giving life to this, and he wants you to give it to this. There's something. And so I'm going to ask you to do that evaluation yourself. What is it? And what would it look like to be a person, to be a community that's in some way committed from this example that we see from Mary Magdalene? Father, I ask you that you would do that in us. And I believe that you have been all morning. I believe that you don't leave it secret. You have, I know for me, brought to my attention several things that I've started to give your attention to something else. I've started to give the energy that I should be giving to you to something else, my hope in another place. And Father, I don't know a better way to say it or to pray it than just to say, hey, in the same way that you set Mary Magdalene free from these 7 demons, whatever those things are that have a grip on us, that have our attention, would you set us free from those? Would you help us just take the fog out and give us clarity so that we can see your incredible worth, how it truly is better to be in your house one day than thousands anywhere else, to be as close to you as possible, to be about what you're trying to do and to see the value of that, to not dismiss it. Father, in the dark night, when it seems like, I know some of us are going through right now, that when it seems like, man, there's no hope and we're trying to figure out where you are, to trust by faith even in that moment. And Father, would you give us the chance to see the miraculous, the impossible, when you show up and do what only you can do? Father, I'm just asking that you would do that in this place to your glory. Amen.